You know, every once in a while, a piece of software comes along that isn't just an update, it's a genuine shift in what we think is possible. Today, we're talking about OpenClaw, the open-source AI agent that just exploded out of nowhere and completely took the internet by storm.
And when I say took over, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, this thing just went nuclear. It shot up to over 180,000 stars on GitHub in a matter of days. That's not just popular, it literally became the fastest growing project in the entire history of GitHub.
The reaction was just insane. People were calling it one of the biggest moments in AI since ChatGPT first dropped. It felt like the start of something totally new, something powerful, the era of AI agents that can actually do stuff. And that created this wild mix of excitement and, for some people, a little bit of fear too.
So how did this all happen? Well, to get that, we got to go back to the beginning. In this story, it didn't start in some billion-dollar research lab. Nope. It started with one guy, Peter Steinberger, and a pretty simple frustration. The kind of AI personal assistant he wanted for himself just didn't exist yet. So what do? You build it yourself, right? He's an entrepreneur, so his first instinct was just to solve his own problem. In about an hour, he basically hacked together a quick prototype. He just connected his WhatsApp to his computer's command line. It was super basic, but it worked. He could now literally talk to his computer.
So he starts using this little bot all the time. And then he's on a trip in Marrakesh, and something happens that changes the whole game. He was in a hurry, and he just fired off an audio message to his bot, a file type it had zero programming for. I mean, absolutely no instructions on what to do with it. He wasn't even thinking.
And then the agent just replies with a perfect transcription of the audio. The logic it came up with was completely on its own. It saw this unknown file, investigated it, figured out it was Opus Audio, found the right tool to convert it, located an API key, used another tool to transcribe it, and then just sent back the reply. This wasn't following a script. This was real, creative problem solving.
That was Peter's exact reaction. He's just looking at his phone, completely stunned. And that was the moment he realized he hadn't just built some simple little tool. He'd stumbled onto something that had world knowledge, something that could reason and act in ways he never ever told it to. He had built a true agent.
So the project starts blowing up, right? But with all this insane growth came a totally new kind of problem. See, the original name was a funny little pun, which is fine when it's your little side project. But now, with thousands of people watching, that name was about to become a very, very big deal.
Honestly, the whole naming journey was a complete mess. It started as Claudo with a W. But as it got bigger, he gets this polite but very firm email from the AI company Anthropic. The message was clear: you have to change the name, and you have to do it now. That kicked off this super high-pressure 2-day scramble that led to the terrible temporary name Modbot before he finally landed on OpenClaw. So picture this. He's got lawyers breathing down his neck, there's a deadline, and he just decides to pull the trigger on Modbot. He hated it, but he had the domains and he just needed to get it done. He opens up 2 browser windows, ready to rename his accounts and just get it over with.
He clicks Rename on the first account. Then he moves his mouse over to the second window to do the same thing. In those few seconds, I mean literally the time it takes to move your mouse from one side of the screen to the other, disaster struck.
It turns out there were sharks in the water. Crypto snipers, running automated scripts, were watching for popular project names to become available. The instant his old name was free, they snatched it. His old GitHub and NPM accounts were hijacked, and they immediately started pushing malware to all the thousands of people trying to find his project. It was a complete nightmare. And that was his breaking point. He's buried under the stress of this rename, he's getting harassed nonstop by crypto spammers, and now he's got a huge security crisis on his hands. He was ready to just give up. He was this close to deleting the whole project. The only thing that really stopped him was his promise to the community that had already rallied around it. But going through that trial by fire actually created a whole new way of working. See, this wasn't just a project about an AI agent anymore. It was now a project being built with an AI agent. Peter started to develop a totally new philosophy for programming, where the AI wasn't just a tool, it was a partner. And you can see that shift in his new philosophy. He jokes now that vibe coding, that late-night messy hacking session, is basically a slur. Instead, he calls his method agentic engineering. It's this disciplined conversational partnership where you're guiding the AI, you're trying to empathize with its perspective to solve problems together, instead of just trying to brute force a solution.
But here's the most revolutionary part of all of this. The agent itself became aware of its own system. It can read its own source code, it understands how it's running, and it can actually modify itself based on your prompts. So if you want to change something, you don't write the code. You just ask the agent to change its own code. This idea, self-modifying software, has been like a holy grail for decades. And he just built it.
So in the end, OpenClaw and its little lobster mascot have come to symbolize something much bigger than just a piece of code. They really represent a new era, a fundamental change in how we talk to our computers, how we build software, and even how we think about agency itself.
All right, so to wrap it all up, what is OpenClaw? It's an open-source AI assistant that lives right there on your own machine. You talk to it through normal messaging apps, but you're giving it deep, system-level access to your computer. It's not just another chatbot. This is the AI that actually does things.
And that right there, that gets to the absolute heart of it. The reason it's so powerful is because of its freedom, that total access to your files, your system, your data. But that freedom is also its biggest danger. This is not some sandbox app living safely in the cloud. You own it, you control it, and you are 100% responsible for keeping it secure.
And that leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? This tech offers us incredible control and power, putting a truly autonomous agent right at our fingertips. But all that power demands a level of personal responsibility that most of us have just never had to deal with before. So the question isn't just, can we build this? It's, are we really ready for what that means?